Ken, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, there is a problem with it. Well, several problems with blanket fitness testing kids, particularly around the years of puberty, because a good percentage of the fitness performance will be genetically determined and determined by level of puberty. Any exercise, pediatric exercise physiologist knows that. So actually what you're rewarding kids for is their genetic predisposition or stage of where they're at in their development, and it's got very little to do with how active they are. So, it's actually giving them a false sense of security if they do well, because ultimately it will be more related to their physical activity patterns as they get older. And actually it rewards those who need it least. So the kids who are not fit, who need the most help into getting more activity, getting another whammy. You score really badly and you're useless, as in the example I gave in my talk. So it has to be used, if at all, very, very carefully. As you've explained, it's got to be used to show that youngsters can improve if they get more active, because they can improve fitness, and used in that way.
Gentlemen,
dangerous tool.
Sorry, Paul, come in then.
I agree with what everyone said. I think the problem for me is, what do you do with the information? So as we all know, kids are now being measured at school. Parents are being sent letters saying whether the kids are overweight or healthy weight. So we're now saying parents are going to get another letter saying whether your kid's fit or unfit. So that would be my main concern. The other concern I have is doing it in a group environment, and I think you raised that in your talk around self-esteem. If you're the kid who drops out first, these kids overweight kids are used to not doing well, not being picked for the teams, always coming last. So is this just another way that we will further lower their self-esteem? So I just think there are a couple of major issues with it. Although I can see how it can be useful for research, I just think doing it across the board is problematic. I mean, the way we measure fitness on our programs, it's done using a step test, 3-minute step test, recovery heart rate, and it's done in private, so no one's watching you and egging you on or sort of seeing you not being able to complete even 3 minutes of stepping.
Cool. Gentleman with the check shirt, and then we'll go there and there next.
Oh, hello, sorry. This sort of relates to a lot of what's been said, particularly around sort of, it hasn't escaped my notice that obviously childhood obesity, but obviously obesity in people and everything, it sort of goes back maybe 10, maybe 20 years, etc., in terms of that real sort of upward curve. And actually, I think the way we consume sport now in this country is completely different to how we did 20 years ago. You go to any football match, any cricket match, people are there for the jolly first. They're there for the fun. They're there for the boozing. They're there for having fun with their friends. And the sport is almost there as a sort of secondary in many cases. And I'd just be sort of quite interested to hear if anyone knows of any schemes that have sort of tried to take that medium of watching yourself play sport on TV and actually adopting it. I mean, for example, if you go to Lords now, they have sort of some of their nets are set up where you can, have a DVD at the end of it, and you can take that home, and all 6 of you can watch yourself bat and have a bowl, or for example, Hawkeye, you can get that down, and I'm convinced there is a link between almost nothing has been done in terms of grassroots sport, I don't think, and matching it up in the way that we actually consume through television and things like that. I'd just be interested if anyone knew of any schemes or thought that might be interesting.
There's a fascinating one, and just on that point, the New York Yankees, up until 2 seasons ago, were offering an all-you-could-eat ticket. So you could sit in the bleachers for $150, watch Derek Jeter smash it out of the park and eat yourself to an early grave. Now what they've actually now done, which is really interesting to see with the youngsters, and I've had a wander around and just watch. They took so much stick, and obviously now, as Tam was talking about this morning, Michelle Obama getting in the loop has really had an influence now on American society in general and how they're looking at sport. So they actually do that now with kids in terms of actually showing them, I suppose, a baseball training regime, what it can do, and then get an opportunity in the batting cages that they have outside the ground on fair days and in the car park to actually show kids, well, this is what you can do, this is how you can improve your levels of fitness, etc., etc. Whether they've stopped offering that ticket yet, I'm not sure, but that's the joys of America.
Yeah. Any other panellists. Mike, do you want to?
I don't have an example similar to you, but I think certainly taking sport into a social setting, into that, is a really interesting thing. And one of the things we're doing actually with university students through Facebook is actually putting table tennis tables or other sporting equipment actually into the student union, so you can have a go at sport alongside meeting with your friends and things. And actually, it's a bit wacky, but it has. The pilot and the launch was down on the South Bank at King's College, and we didn't actually advertise it to anybody until the day. We advertised it on the King's College website, and just through that we got over 200 students down into the student union, and a good 5, 6, 20 of them have definitely gone on into it. But I think those are really interesting things we need to look at. We at Sport England have a small pot called the Innovation Fund. It's only I think it's 2 to 3 million a year. That's exactly, if you've got ideas like that, you should be bidding to the Innovation Fund.
Great. Gentleman with the white shirt over there, and then we're going up top left, that's right.
Hi, I'm a community paediatrician from North Wales. I wanted to pick up something that Ken has said very clearly and take that further. And that is that really, to make this work population-based, you need to integrate exercise in the daily pattern of living. And particularly for children, it is the going to school, walking or cycling, and the playing outside spontaneously is really where it hinges. And the two things I think that keeps children at home is one, what I think is very much the irrational fear of stranger danger, but also the quite realistic fear of the traffic. And I wonder what we can do, who has got influence on the Department of Transport, how we can reduce the car really as a tyrant of our roads and of our society. I can give plenty of examples I don't need to bore you with. A local school wanted to traffic calming because the road was busy. The message is, the road is too important, can't do it. Answer, of course, clearly more important than our children. On all our rural roads, you can do 60 miles an hour. That's nearly motorway speed. Are that the roads that children need to cycle to school on? Why do rural roads need to have a speed limit that high? That's not. But you only save half a minute on that. Why? Do we know? I don't. Imagine a road with a nice cycle lane and a pedestrian path. Imagine there is a building jutting out. What will happen? Cycle path disappears, pedestrian path disappears, but there will still be 2 lanes for the cars. Why has the car always priority everywhere? How much would it cost to reduce traffic speeds in all built-up areas except arterial trunk roads to 20 miles an hour? That costs pennies per quality of life you saved. Both health, emotional health, and green. What is it, except the car lobby, that stops this? Does anybody know?
Are you throwing that open to the House? Have you got an additional question to that?
If anyone who saw the media coverage in the right-wing press on, I think it was Southampton, that had a double cycle lane in a road, that's your answer. Basically, the press will just leap all over it, backed by the car lobby, and just any innovation. There they had a cycle lane, I think 2.5 times as wide as normal, obviously to encourage cycling. Along those roads, and it got absolutely lambasted in the press.
Yeah, I think in Islington the cycle lanes are the width of a bike. You feel really protected as a lorry goes past you. But don't tell Boris I said that. You talked about an overprotective environment, stranger danger, all that sort of stuff. So, Ken, you did hint at that, didn't you, in your presentation around this whole thing of safety and
well, it is a barrier, and it's clearly a barrier. But I think your main point was about active travel, wasn't it? And I mean, it's an area we've been really interested in. We work with Sustrans, Sustainable Transport, people who put in the bike paths and so on. And it's been a tremendous challenge in this country compared to Holland and Denmark. I don't know where you're from, Germany?
Holland.
Holland, okay.
I don't.